Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's short video, we will be talking about a new feature coming to the game with the upcoming DLC. What we're talking about is raids. This is covered in the latest developer diary. I will also include a link in the description so you can check it out by yourself. Now, as you know, with the upcoming DLC, a lot of new features are coming into the game. In my last dedicated video, we talked about concentrated forces, which may completely change the way we deal with the AI in the game. And today we're talking about another interesting feature. So what is a raid in the game and how do you set it up? So the main thing about raids is they will appear on the map. So after the upcoming DLC, when you open the map mod, you will see some potential targets for your raids, as you can see here on the map. So when you click on the target icon, then you can start setting up a raid against that target. Now, after selecting the target and the type of raid, you will need to find a unit to perform the raid. Now, this is quite interesting because you may do it with paratroopers, with air wings, or whatever else is required by the raid. We don't know exactly yet what kind of requirements there will be, but something very interesting is once you select a unit, as you can see here in the example, we have several types of medium bombers and a heavy bomber. Now, one thing that is important is the experience of the unit. As you can see, the chances of success will be determined also by the experience of the units that you assign, but that's okay. That's not the most interesting thing. In my opinion, the most interesting thing is you will need to select a province to start the raid from, of course, and the distance between that province and the target will be relevant. In the sense that, for example, if you're using an air wing for your raid, then you will need to pick an airfield that is within range of the target. Now, this is not irrelevant because as of now, in the single player of HOI4, there are little reasons to build medium and heavy bombers, and most of the time you can just stick to small airframes. Since the only disadvantage is in terms of range, but range is usually not that important in the game, and as long as you have the air superiority in the regions in which you're fighting, you're happy. Well, if raids do indeed play an important role in the upcoming DLC, then we may want to build some dedicated bombers or long-range planes specifically for the purpose of raids, which I think could be an interesting addition to the game. So once you select your target and the starting province, then you come up with this new raid preparing tab, in which you can see several information. You can see how long before the raid is starting, and as you can see, the raid can take quite a long time, so this is not something that you can constantly do. You need to plan it and trigger it when the time is due. Now, interestingly, as it says here, some raids can even be prepared during peacetime, but they cannot be launched unless a war is ongoing. So you can start preparing it before the war and then trigger it as the war starts. Now, once you're satisfied with the setup of the raid and you launch it, then you will see an animation. So you will see your plane flying towards the enemy target, if it is a plane that we're using for the raid, of course. And then, of course, triggering the raid doesn't automatically mean that it will be successful. There are a number of factors that come into play when executing a raid. So we talked about the experience, but there could be other ones such as air superiority. Again, another reason why long-range planes may come into play in the upcoming DLC. And there is one more thing that we can do to increase the chances of success of our raid. As you can see here, there are 3 icons and you can select how many risks you want to take with your raid. It can be low, medium or high. The higher the risks, the higher the chances of success or even critical success. And of course, the higher the chances of losing some of your units during the raid. Now, in terms of cost for your raids, in addition to the equipment needed for the raid, the units, the flying units and so on, you will also need to spend some command power. Now, command power is being reworked in the upcoming DLC. And what will happen is some of the advisors that you hire for your government will actually increase the total amount of command power. It's a bit of the opposite compared to now. Now, usually you spend command power to pick your advisors. From now on, they will actually increase your command power, but you will need to spend that command power, for example, on raids. As you can see here, there is a facility strike on Vorpommern. Now, why would you trigger a raid? What is the purpose of it, and what types of raid will there be in the game? This is maybe the main point in the game, because of course everything we're talking about now will determine, and we cannot know that now, on how impactful the raids are in the game. I'm a little bit worried about that, to be honest, because if they are too impactful, then they will force us into preparing them consistently, always using them. That can become even a bit tedious. If they are completely irrelevant, of course, they will be ignored entirely, and what would be the purpose of making dedicated planes if you're not going to make raids? So I really hope they will find the perfect balance between the two. Now, as you know, with the upcoming DLC, there will also be special projects and experimental facilities. And special projects, although we don't know exactly how they will work, they will allow you to create some super weapons, some especially powerful howitzers, bombs, planes, and so on. And raids are one of the ways to prevent your enemies from completing these special projects. If your enemy is researching something particularly powerful and you want to stop them, then you will plan a raid on the facility they are using to research that new technology. Another thing that can be targeted by raids and that is coming to the game with the upcoming DLC is dams. They apply state level bonuses and they are very useful for boosting your industry, but of course can be targeted by your enemies as well. And if destroyed, not only they will slow down your industry in the region, but they can even flood entire areas of the map, slowing down enemy units and affecting the terrain type. Another new thing that you can do with raids, as long as you unlock some of the special projects, in this case for example bouncing bombs, is lock strikes, and they can, for example, destroy the Panama or the Kiel Canal. As I mentioned, raids can be used to counter enemy super weapons, and they can also be used, and this is quite interesting, to target specific enemy resources. Now keep in mind that raids are not entirely free, you cannot just target anything. The raid targets are pre-selected on the map, you can only target specific facilities, specific dams, which by the way you cannot build, so they are already on the map in specific locations. And again, some specific resources, like in this case you can target the oil refineries in Romania and reduce the amount of oil gathered from those refineries. Now something like this could make sense historically, in the sense that the German army relied heavily on the oil resources coming from Romania. I'm not exactly sure how impactful it would be in the game, we will need to wait and see. I have the feeling that something like this would probably not be worth it. I don't think you need to cripple the German oil refineries in order to defeat them in single player. In any case, we will see. Now, another very interesting feature coming with raids, and this one I'm really looking forward to, are nuclear strikes. Now, nukes in the game right now are very disappointing in my opinion. They really needed a rework, and I hope raids will be the rework they needed. As of now, nukes in the game are a bit more like tactical nukes rather than strategic nukes, so they can destroy some of the enemy divisions fighting on the front, but they cannot really massively affect the outcome of the war like they historically did. But now you can use raids for nuclear strikes. So you need to plan them in advance, and you need to assign a dedicated unit to drop the bomb, and you no longer just press a button to trigger the nuke. Unlike the other raids we talked about, the HOI still lets you select any province when planning a nuclear strike, so in this case you are free to plan the raid wherever you want. This is the most interesting thing probably, so in addition to the initial destruction caused by the nuclear bombs, they also now have some lingering effects, making them a bit more devastating than they used to be for the country getting nukes dropped on them. And these, I hope, will be really big and may change the way we use nukes. Of course, it should be harder to get nukes and to use nukes, but they should be much more impactful in the game. Speaking of nukes, now you also have some custom raids, and these are special raids only available to some countries and to some specific targets. And of course, you can see very well what is going on here. So here is an American raid in Nagasaki. You know what happened there. So guys, that's all for what concerns raids. I'm definitely excited about this feature. We don't know yet how impactful it will be. Again, as I said, I hope it will be balanced well, because if it is too impactful, then it may become tedious, and if it is not impactful enough, it can just be disregarded completely. But I'm confident they did a good job with it, and it will make the game a lot more interesting. Guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this feature and whether you're looking forward to it. As usual, don't forget to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving me a comment. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!